You know when you're watching your favorite show, and it's all about intense drama, cliffhangers, and complicated love stories? Well, what if I told you that over a century ago, one guy was doing all of that, just with a massive, epic orchestra behind him? Today, we're going to break down how Giacomo Puccini basically turned opera into reality TV.
So let's be real. When someone says opera, what pops into your head? I'm willing to bet it's something with gods, maybe some mythical heroes, probably a bunch of kings and queens in really fancy costumes. Am I right? Well, what if I told you that around the time of your great-great-grandparents, opera got a serious dose of reality?
Okay, so picture this. On one side, you've got your old-school opera. Think of it like a giant fantasy movie, full of myths and legends. But then this new style called Verismo crashed the party, and it was all about real people, with real messy problems, and drama that felt like it could actually happen. It was a complete game changer, like going from a fantasy epic to a gritty TV thriller.
So, let's get into it. What exactly was this game-changing style? It was called Verismo, and that's just Italian for realism. Let's break down what that really means when you put it up on a stage.
Basically, Verismo is opera deciding to get real. The whole point was to ditch the gods and monsters and instead focus on the drama of just everyday life. The goal was to tell stories that people could actually relate to, about the kinds of things that we all might go through.
So if you wanted to cook up a Verismo opera, what's the recipe? Well, first, you'd need normal characters. Not kings or queens, but, artists, workers, young people in love. Then you'd fill the story with huge, raw emotions like jealousy, betrayal, and passion. And here's the kicker, the most important part. The endings aren't always happy. Just like in real life, things could get really, really tragic.
And if Verissimo was the game, then there was one guy who was the undisputed champion, the absolute master of all this real-life drama, and that was Giacomo Puccini.
Puccini was pretty much born into music. He came from a whole family of musicians, and he went to a super prestigious music school. Now, his first few operas got a little bit of attention, but think of them like the early levels in a video game. He was grinding, figuring out his unique style. And then, bam, in 1893, he has his first massive hit with Man Scott, and that's when things really took off.
So, to really get a handle on what made Puccini so great, we're going to look at three of his absolute biggest hits. You can think of these as three masterclasses in creating drama.
First up, we've got one of the most popular operas of all time, La Bohème.
So what's the story about? Get this. It's about a group of young, broke artists in Paris. They're just trying to make rent, fall in love, and, keep the heat on in their apartment. It is peak Verismo. It's not about saving the kingdom, it's about friendship, love, and dealing with loss. Totally relatable stuff.
I mean, seriously, that tagline sounds like it could be for a new show that just dropped on Netflix, right? And that's why it's still so huge today. The story feels real because it's about problems that never really go away.
All right, next up. If La Bohème was about everyday struggles, a few years later, Puccini decided to crank the drama knob all the way up to 11 with an opera called Tosca.
Tosca is a whole different vibe. This one is a straight-up political thriller. It's super high stakes. But the Verismo idea is still right there in the middle of it all. The whole story is powered by these incredibly intense and real emotions. We're talking jealousy, fear, desire, betrayal. The plot moves at 100 miles an hour. It's a total nail-biter.
Yeah, that pretty much nails it. It's dark, it's passionate, and the stakes are literally life and death. So the Verismo here isn't about the struggle of being poor. It's about how raw human emotion can drive people to do some pretty extreme things. And for our final exhibit, you might want to get the tissues ready. This is the absolutely heart-wrenching Madama Butterfly. This opera basically puts the emotional world of one character under a microscope. It's this tragic story about a young Japanese woman who falls in love with an American naval officer. And the Verismo part is how it makes you feel her emotional suffering so deeply, right up to its absolutely tragic ending. Puccini even wove Japanese-inspired melodies into the music to make it all feel more authentic.
This story has stayed so powerful because it taps into this really universal fear, right? What happens when you give all your love and devotion to someone and they just betray you? Puccini makes you feel that pain so intensely, and that is what Verismo is all about.
So, you might be wondering, how did he do it? How did Puccini make these stories feel so powerful, so timeless? Well, it really comes down to a kind of secret formula.
Here's the secret sauce. First step, he wrote really deep characters.
They weren't just simple good guys or bad guys. They were complicated, they had real motivations. Step 2, the man wrote killer melodies. The tunes are so unbelievably good that they perfectly express what a character is feeling at that exact moment. And step 3, he used the orchestra like a movie composer does today, building suspense, hitting you with emotion, and basically telling you how you're supposed to feel.
Okay, so this was all happening over 100 years ago. Why are we still talking about this guy? Why does he still matter? Let's get into his legacy.
His influence is actually huge. He didn't just follow the Verismo style, he pretty much perfected it. He proved that you could make incredible, epic art about normal people. His whole way of mixing melody and drama has influenced everything from Broadway musicals to movie scores. And yeah, the fact that his operas are still playing in theaters all over the world is just mind-blowing.
And get this, some of the solo songs from his operas, they're called arias, became so famous that they're basically hit singles. I guarantee you have heard the aria Nessun Dorma. It's been in movies, at the World Cup, everywhere. You might not have known the name, but you know the tune. That's a sign of a true legend.
So, if you only remember one thing from all this, it should be this. Puccini made opera about us. He proved that you don't need gods and kings to tell an epic story. The biggest, most powerful dramas are the ones that are already happening inside all of us. You know, stories about love, jealousy, joy, and heartbreak.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. If your life was an opera, what moment would be the big, dramatic scene? What would the music sound like right at that peak moment? It's kind of a cool thing to imagine.